women over 35 make such a big fertility mistake when they are trying to conceive, especially when you're trying to conceive naturally, and maybe you get a little derailed along the way. Okay, so hi, I'm Natasha Winter. I'm your natural fertility coach. I help women over 35 to improve fertility and activate their egg quality naturally. And I do this with holistic, feminine, and ancient methods that are fun, enjoyable, easy to implement, and I hope to be able to help you soon. So in this video, I just want to go over some of the things we talked about in my previous video, which you can find here. Okay, on what some of those are, what the number one mistake that women make on their fertility journey. And in this video, I want to talk about why it is that so many women are making the same mistakes. Okay, and hopefully you watch that video, because in this video, we're going to go a little deeper. So being that the number one mistake that women make is that they are operating in stress, I'm pretty sure you're wondering why. At least I hope you're wondering why. I hope I'm starting to get your thoughts pumping and your juices juicing and flowing, and that you are starting to ask some questions, because we support questions over here. Okay, unlike some other places where they just want you to do what they tell you to do, we support questions. And don't mind my background. I don't know. Let me just sit over like this. But anyways, so I want to go deeper as to why women are operating in stress, as well as provide you with some simple solutions that you can start implementing today to take some action to minimize the effects of stress, mitigate it, or avoid it altogether, right? So one of the reasons that women are operating in stress and making decisions about their fertility out of stress is because they're stuck in survival mode. They're stuck in fight or flight mode. You know, they're stuck in this sort of state of being that is hard to recognize once you're in it. And even if you recognize that you're in a loop of stress, it's hard to figure your way out when there aren't that many options given to you. And as you know, if you are, again, wanting to conceive a baby and perhaps speaking to your doctor, your healthcare provider, and you're over 35, and maybe you haven't been able to conceive for the past 6 months to a year, you probably have been told that donor eggs are your only option. And of course, the way to do that is with IVF. You know, they may even suggest ICSI, IUI, or some other fertility treatments, and maybe other procedures that are not necessarily what you were hoping to hear. So when you're told that donor eggs are your only option, that in and of itself can trigger a stress response where you can now begin to start to panic. You can begin to, again, enter into a deeper level of fear and unknowingness, and just a whole realm that, you know, where you can feel very vulnerable, isolated, and alone. Okay, and so this just triggers a whole lot of other things in the body. Okay, like it triggers the release of more cortisol. It triggers the release of again, just more thoughts and fears and feelings that are not signaling to the body that you're safe, right? So instead, it can actually further deepen your fears. It could further deepen your anxiety, and again, it really just makes everything worse. And again, the reason that really is sort of like even deeper behind this all is because, for one, we live in a very masculine dominated society. Society plays a big role, and culture plays a big role in how we live our day-to-day lives. Okay, we don't necessarily look at it all the time through, you know, masculine and feminine. However, we do live in a very masculine, white male dominated society. Okay, and being that that's what this is, it comes with consequences. And so one of the consequences is that as women, we are also sort of forced, coerced, encouraged, rewarded to also operate in our masculine abilities and, you know, masculine characteristics, personalities. These traits are all encouraged, supported, and rewarded while feminine characteristics are sort of looked down upon, they're definitely not enriched. They're not sort of supported. They're not, um, you know, there aren't really a lot of things in place to help you to even discover what your feminine energy or operating in your feminine mode would be. And so as a result, we're sort of like linear thinking, like we just think one way, which can be sort of like, again, more forceful, more um, less ease. There could be less ease in this path, and it could just be more controlling. And when you are trying to conceive, especially if you are a high achiever, okay, especially if you're a type A woman, especially if you are, a business owner or somebody who, if you do something that requires you to be very sort of consistent, very um, thought centered, very logical, you can kind of get trapped into the same pattern and thinking style where you might now believe that in order to conceive a baby, that you also got to plan everything out and you got to force everything and you got to be in control of everything. And your fertility has to look a certain way by a certain date. And there's all of these things that you need to do and have in place. And you need to know everything about your cycle and what's going on with your body via testing and, okay. And it just falls in line with what is like the normal route, okay, with everything else in society, with things that are in business, with that, the way we've been taught in school. Okay. And so when you're in this path and you haven't seen any other type of option or any other type of way, it can be hard to sort of step back and see, okay, well, this is causing this and it's leading to this, and the result is that. Especially, I know I said that a lot, but when you are, again, somebody who has seen the results that type of thinking and that type of action and forceful and control has brought you, because again, you get rewarded. So in business, when you are on your game and you're hustling and you are on top of things and you are the boss, you get rewards, you get more money. And with more money, you can buy more things. You can have better things. Again, there's ego can come into play here. A lot of competition can come into play. And for some people, there is like a high that comes from that. There is a sense of accomplishment. The problem is when you are trying to conceive a baby and you are a woman and you operate with that sort of, mindset, most of the time it's going to work against you, because for the most part we cannot control our bodies. We cannot force our bodies to do anything it is not meant to do naturally. And this is where IVF comes in. IVF are, the IVF, the whole industry or whatever of IVF, like this, the whole path to IVF, it looks like, okay, you wanted to conceive, you're told to talk to your doctor about it. So you bring it up to your doctor. They look at you, they're like, well, you're over 35. You haven't conceived in the last 6 months. Okay, it used to be a year. Now I'm hearing more 6 months. I wouldn't be surprised if they start telling women 3 months. Okay, you're infertile. The only option for you is donor eggs. So then, through you thinking that that's the only option, and like your doctor has this path already cut out for you, and you're given limited time to really consider it. And even if you bring certain questions up, maybe your doctor may look at you condescendingly or just not really support your views to, have a more natural, biological related, like birth and baby and things like that. You may start to feel like, you just got to do what the doctor's trying to tell you to do just to get by and just to avoid conflict and things like that. That might be where like your true feminine nature comes out. It's like you're almost like they're playing on your feminine energy or playing on your fears. Okay. And of course, it's not going to look like that. They're not going to be like, well, I'm over here playing on your feminine energy. This is what you got to do. It's not going to look like that. But when you start feeling vulnerable, a lot of times you may be tapping more into your feminine energy. But anyways, and it can be misused in that sense. So once that starts to happen, again, stress hormones are being released in your body. And if you don't have anything in place to mitigate that, it can become a chronic stress situation. If you're not already suffering from chronic stress, it can just exacerbate the problem. And again, dealing with stress can create more stress, and there can be stress about stress and the stress about trying to conceive, right? So it can kind of play up on each other. I think there was a study that said even just saying that word creates more of that. So I will try to limit that here. Um, but yeah, so that's one thing that you really need to think of, is that we as a society are very male orientated and dominant. Now, there's nothing wrong with, um, you know, uh, masculine energy or masculinity or anything like that. Like there's men, that's what they need in order for their fertility, okay, to thrive, and for them to dominate as men and do what they do. It They thrive on masculine energy. They thrive on force, control, um, things like ego and things like that. However, as women, we don't necessarily thrive in that state of being. That can also be um, significant with our, sorry, symbolic of being in a survival state. Okay, when women are operating in their masculine energy, usually that's out of a survival response, or like we're just operating in survival mode. We're just trying to, make it. We're just trying to cope. We're just trying to deal with the world that we're living in, right? And so this can cause like just a whole cascading effect of just, you know, um, stress cascading and or spiraling out of control, right? And so you have to take a step back. First of all, you probably got to see a video like this to even acknowledge what's going on, right? But you have to take a step back and really analyze, is this really what you want? Do you really want what is being promoted, what is being pushed, what is being suggested to? Most of the women that I talked to, they were not like, oh yeah, I knew my doctor was going to tell me that donor eggs were my only option, and I was fine with it, and that is what wanted to do. It just didn't work out. No, they're like, that's not even what they wanted. They really want to have a baby naturally. They believe their bodies can conceive naturally. They believe they can. It's just they're just not being given the options. Their doctors just are not telling them what they can do naturally. It's just one thing and one thing only, right? So you need to probably side eye your doctor, okay, and the whole industry to go with it, the whole IVF or arts. I'll call it art because it's artificial reproductive technology. Side eye the whole thing, because why isn't there a whole industry, a whole organized industry for natural fertility support for a country, for a people, for nations of people? Now there are some countries that sort of lean to that more, but for the most part, it's because the reason why that does not exist is because there's really no money to be made, okay, by teaching women how to improve their fertility naturally, because all we would do is pass information on to each other, and then we just simply wouldn't need them. That's what we do. That's what women do. That is what our ancestors have been doing. That's what we've done as people for generations and generations. Before there was even like written history, we share information with each other. So as you know, like things have happened to disrupt that, right? And so here we are. But if we look back to what our ancestors did or would have done if they wanted to conceive, they more than likely would have went about it obviously a natural route, unless there was some super technologically advanced society, which no longer exists anymore, and I wonder why. But anyways, operating more in your feminine essence is really what's going to bring about the shift and the change that you want, okay, in order to achieve the goal and outcome of a successful pregnancy and birth without all of the pain, the struggle, and the mistakes and problems that you would experience otherwise, okay? I just want to share just one story, at least just one, about this woman that She called me and she had experienced hyper ovarian syndrome. I'm pretty sure there's one more word. I think I said that yesterday. But anyways, she experienced hyper ovarian syndrome or hyper overactive ovarian syndrome. I think that's what it is, where basically the medication that she was taking forced her ovaries to produce so much that she ended up in the hospital. And you can, that can become a very big problem. And this is what happens when you force the body to do things that it wasn't designed to do. It can react or have a response that is not pleasant, okay? Whereas if you want a more pleasant response, if you want a more pleasant fertility experience, really you need to give your body what it needs. And in order to do that, you need to be able to listen to your body, okay? And how you do that. So here's some of the things that you can do to avoid the stress or to, stop making some of these mistakes that women have been making is you need to listen to your body, okay? So how you listen to your body, especially during your menstrual cycle, ask yourself, what have I ate this month? What have I drank? What have I consumed? Okay. If the things that you have been eating have been giving life to your body and they've been nurturing your womb and they've been supporting you on your fertility journey, you're probably going to have a more pleasant menstrual cycle. You might not have any pain, no PMS. The bleeding might not be so dark or heavy. And it might not be so long. It shouldn't be 7 to 14 days like I used to experience when I was a teenager, bleeding my guts up. Okay. If you also want to ask yourself, what have my thoughts been for the last 28, 35 days, however long your cycle is. What have my thoughts been like for that cycle? Okay. Have I been telling myself, positive affirmations? Or have I been, having a lot of negative self-talk? Okay. And how has that made me feel? And what can I do differently going forward? Right. If you've been having a lot of negative self-talk about your fertility, don't really expect your body to respond in the best optimal way. There's actually a connection between the mind and the womb, okay? Where, again, your body signals to your womb, hey, this is what's going on. So, like, your body can signal your... No, sweetie, not yet. So your brain can signal to your womb that, you're not safe right now, that there's a lot of danger, that you're in harm's way, right? Or your mind can be signaling, hey, everything is pleasant, everything is okay. It's really a cool, chill time right now. I said no. Right? And so we can definitely go ahead and, work on these fertility hormones and pump them where they need to go and send all the oxygen to the womb because we don't need it in the arms and the legs. She's not trying to run right now. She's safe and she's stable. But again, when we're in survival mode, when we're more stressed out and your body's constantly pumping cortisol and adrenaline, really this is signaling to your body that you literally need to be running. You need to be fighting and defending yourself right now. And that's what happens. Cortisol and progesterone, they use the same pathways or similar pathways, but cortisol has precedence, or it has it's more dominant. And so it will shut down your progesterone. Okay. And in the last video, I started to mention progesterone, but your progesterone is very important when it comes to your fertility because the hormone progesterone is what helps to thicken the uterine lining. It's what helps to, make sure that you are going to be able to carry the baby, that the fertilized egg can attach to the womb. Okay. And so when your progesterone levels are low, your luteal phase of your menstrual cycle will be short. Okay. So if you have a cycle that's like less than 10 days, you probably experienced low progesterone or have a lot of stress in your body. Progesterone is also important for your thyroid gland. So some women with thyroid issues probably have a lot of stress in their life. And again, this is not a diagnosis or any like full length of like what progesterone does or doesn't do or anything like that. But these are just like some things that I want you to start thinking about and starting to see the connections and connecting the dots, right? So another way to look at it is the hormone progesterone is kind of like progestational, right? So progesterone progestation. So if you can kind of think of that, if you have low progestation hormone, okay, and I'm just saying that it's not exactly the name of the hormone. If you have a low progestation hormone, you're probably not going to be able to gestate and then get pregnant, or meaning carry a baby or support a baby in your womb. So start to think about it like that. Like cortisol is, that's getting your blood going to your limbs, your heart, your lungs, so you can breathe better, run faster. Coupled with adrenaline, right? So really wanting to come out of that stress state, and you can literally feel when you're more stressed out, your heart is bumping. You can feel it here. That's why maybe tapping is probably so good. I really need to start looking more into that. But you can feel all of that. You can feel your blood pumping in your throat. You might sweat more profusely. You might again, you feel anxious. You just feel buzzing in you. It's hard to calm down. And other things are happening. You're getting dehydrated. So it's like you really need to take time and listen to your body. Do you need deep rest? Yes. You more than likely need some serious deep rest to offset the effects of stress, especially when you're trying to conceive and you've been having a hard time. Okay. So though that's like one main reason, okay, that women are making the same problem when it comes to fertility is you're stuck in survival mode. You're stressed out, and you really don't know what to do about it because you haven't been given the options. Right? So then you have your more fertile mode, which when we talk about fertile, we're talking about flow. We're talking about ease. We're talking about being more receptive. We're talking about deep rest, just having more ease and more softness in your life. And so that's really what you want to start to embrace if you are on your fertility journey and it hasn't been working out for you, especially if you're a type A sister, you're a type A woman, if you are a high achiever, if you're a business owner, like all of these things, if you're if you create a lot of content online and things like that, that in of itself can be a very stressful experience. That you have to build in feminine energy into everything that you do. You have to build in feminine energy into your fertility routine, into your fertility plan. And like I've made a lot of videos, and I'm gonna start uploading my content, because I've made tons of videos, and I needed to edit them, and I just never uploaded them. But I still have a lot of content on what is the feminine fertility routine and feminine energy and things like this. That I really encourage you to go watch to sort of like get the bigger picture of what I'm talking about. But this is not just woo woo, this is not just me just trying to connect with the femininity movement that's happening online or anything. And if you notice, I just want to segue into talking about that. There's a lot of shifts going on with the femininity online movement. If you've noticed, there's a lot of women who are stepping back from making their femininity content. They're stepping back from posting this type of content online. And one of the issues is there's a lot of drama in the femininity online movement. And there's also a lot of pushback because, again, we live in a very masculine, male-orientated societies. And it's not just the men. It is the women who have a very masculine mindset. And, if you have that coupled with competition, and you're also a woman, it can be hard to maybe see other women, quote unquote, leveling up or, achieving their goals and their dreams, and not being able to, fix a queen's crown and things like that. It can be very difficult if you haven't fully done the work in order to tap into your own femininity. And that's one of the things I see missing in the femininity community, is really doing the inner work. Sure, there are some women who are making those videos, but that's not the dominant message. And that's one of the reasons why the femininity community is crumbling, because doing the self-work and the inner work is not put out there. It's not the dominant message. And I think that's one of the mistakes of the femininity community, but that's not what this video is about. But anyways, I still want to touch on that because there's pushback, and the pushback comes from being in a male dominant society. So even on your femininity journey, your feminine fertility journey, or your fertility journey, when you're tapping more into, you know, deep rest, and self-care, fertility self-care, and nurturing your body and supporting your womb and eating for your womb and your fertility, you can get a lot of pushback and a lot of like a lack of support in that area because people don't understand maybe like what you're doing or why you're doing it. You may not even understand here in this video, but of course you will if you continue to watch more of my content. But you know, so imagine you wanting to have deep rest to restore your hormone levels and achieve, you know, hormonal balance. You might not get the type of support that you want because maybe somebody will say, hey, well, why are you always chilling? Like literally, they might be like, why are you always relaxing? You used to be go, go, go in hustle mode and in boss babe mode, and now you're over here with your legs kicked up, and you haven't been doing your makeup, and you haven't been, go back over there, go back that way, turn around. Come on, this way. And you haven't been doing, you know, your hair and your makeup, and you haven't been doing all these things that had you that you were operating before, right? So you can get pushback from that. You can get a lot of questions. People can think that you've changed. People can think that a lot of things are going on with you, where you're really just trying to sort of embrace this new path and this new way that really nobody else has put out there. And I really probably should start putting out some content on that, right? So let me know if you want to see me embracing my femininity. Like I'm trying like your girl. Like normally I would just have probably some other type of shirt that was like not giving, but yeah, so I've been doing a little bit different. It's not all that, but you know, this is like relaxed, right? So I have a little outfit of the day. Anyway, I'm not gonna do all that, but yeah, just like you see how like I light up just by talking about like just something new and different that maybe I don't always do. Like you need to find again what works for you and find what brings you joy and what brings you pleasure and brings you happiness, and that sort of helps you tap into that feminine energy. Because that's what it's going to do. It's going to bring you joy. And that's what's missing from a lot of women's fertility journeys is femininity, and it's joy, and it's pleasure, and it's ease, and it's effortlessness, and it's deep rest. Like I'm telling you, in one of my VIPs, one woman I spoke to, I was telling this woman to buy some flowers, and I was telling her to like, you know, surround herself with beauty. And like this was like one of my early VIPs, and I was like, what am I telling this woman? But like really, she received it. That's really what was beautiful about it. I'll say that is that she received the message, and like she actually, you know, she implemented all the other things. But like I told her a lot of other things that are science backed, and that you know, a lot of techniques. We touched on nutrition, diet. We touched on, you know, exercise, self-care, and mindset. So, you know, I'm not just telling people to just do decorative things and all that, but like it all connects, right? And so she actually did receive my message, and we didn't just do a VIP, we also worked together for about 3 months. And she was able to conceive a baby, okay, after suffering miscarriages and things like that. So, you know, this shift is really what women need in order to start to be able to conceive, especially if you're over 35 and you've been struggling with fertility. Now, I just want to touch on that too. If you look at the verbiage and the how women identity journey, the fertility movement, I'll call it a movement because some of that is just it's a lot of movement happening, but not in the direction that we wanted to or they wanted to. But like the online fertility community, okay, we'll call it that. There's a lot of sort of like negative affirmations. Okay, fertility warrior. A lot of women wear that badge like it is an honor. Okay, they call themselves a fertility warrior. They use the hashtag fertility warrior, PCOS warrior, endo warrior. It's like they can't let go of the word warrior. Another thing that you hear about is struggling to conceive. Struggling means you are fighting, okay, and you're probably losing the battle. right? A lot of women are referencing to themselves as struggling to conceive, are trying to conceive. Even the word trying to conceive is not, um, it's not a positive affirmation, you know? And so the fertility community also is, affected by this, um, sort of more control and forceful thinking, by thinking that, like, if it's not happening, that you need to fight, that you need to struggle, that you need to be a warrior, you need to get on the battlefield, you need to bear arms. Whereas women are having more wins and gains, by tapping into their feminine energy, and instead of struggling to conceive, preparing your body to conceive. So do you see the shift? Like, can you feel the shift from me saying struggling to conceive to preparing your body to conceive? Or, like a fertility warrior to like a fertility goddess. Like, I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a big shift. There's a lot happening. There's a big difference there. A fertility mama, or a fertility girly. Like, there's so many things that can be said, that are positive affirmations while you are on your fertility journey, and that don't sort of signify that you are fighting a losing battle and that you are some type of soldier that is at war with your womb. Because I guarantee you, your womb is not trying to fight you. Okay, your womb is not trying to fight you. Like, look at my womb. Like, it's not this. Where's the fight? There's no weapons here formed against me. My womb is not trying to fight me. Okay, your womb is not trying to fight you. What it may be happening is trying to dust out or get rid of the trash and the debris that you maybe have been putting into it, whether knowingly or unknowingly. It could be through pollution in the air that you're breathing, which of course you don't have any control over. So it's not all about control. And there are some things we cannot control, but there are some things that we can control. There are some things we can do, So, it doesn't have to all be about, like your body trying to harm you, or your body is working against you. You can shift that to be to say, I'm working with my body. I'm giving my body what it needs. I am nurturing my womb. I am preparing my body for conception. And so with that, I will end this video by letting you know that you can conceive, that you can improve your fertility and your egg quality, and you can start taking steps today. So I provided some links in my bio or in the description for you to start to do that. So for one, I have a free guide for you that you can download, that you can start to make some steps today to help you to improve your confidence, improve fertility confidence, start to develop habits, and start to see where you can make some improvements in your fertility. So that link is in the description. I also have a webinar, my Science of Fertility webinar, so that you can see that there are some science-backed studies and evidence around this. Okay, so all of the things I've mentioned in this video so far, I've referenced with some studies and some links, so you can see the connection between the brain. You can see how, some of the job culture, or like just the way how people are making money, maybe affecting their fertility. So there is an actual study that shows how like your job can be negatively affecting your fertility, as well as how your psychological, your mindset can be affecting your menstrual cycle, which will affect your fertility. So I put some links there that you can go and look into this. But if you want to go deeper, if you want me to help you to explore that, sign up for my Science of Fertility webinar. And if you'd like to go even deeper and work with me one-on-one, I am taking clients. So all you have to do is apply for my VIP Fertility Reset package or Reset program. The link for that is also in the description. And in that, you will get a personalized fertility assessment. You'll also get one-on-one coaching from me, and you'll also get access to my 21-day fertility reset, or my 21-day feminine energy fertility reset, which is adorable and something that you are going to love and you're going to crave, and it's going to help you to shift more into that feminine energy, and that start to develop your feminine fertility routine. So I really hope to see you on the other side. If this video has helped you, please give it a pretty thumbs up. Make sure to share this with a friend and leave a comment below letting me know if you've experienced fertility stress along your fertility journey, or if you've tried to, you know, nicen up your fertility journey and make it more of a feminine experience, or a, you know, just a more pleasurable experience. Because another thing I want to say is that your fertility journey can be very pleasurable. It can be very exciting. It can be something that you curate. Okay? It doesn't have to be something that you have to do or that you are forced to do because somebody tells you that is your only option. You can definitely create and manifest the most pleasurable fertility experience, the most luxurious fertility experience, whatever it is that you like. So make sure that you, again, register for my Science of Fertility webinar, download the free guide, and apply for my VIP Fertility Reset program. And I hope to see you there. Take care. Hope to see you in the next video.